everybody that came.
Good.
She got more people last night than I. That was the law.
Everybody that came.
Good.
Everybody kind of broke up into a different room. Everybody that came.
Good.
She got more.
Observations and see like everybody think as far as what should we tackle or things we should be concerned about right now or what should we get on hold.
Council, if you use the agenda that I uploaded today, it'll have the goals with our city council, with our planning general plan. There we go. Ready? We're recording. Want to welcome everyone to our Hyde Park City Council meeting for June 25. We're going to lead off with a opening prayer or thought, followed by the pledge with the council member Allred.
Our Father in heaven, we're so very grateful that we can be here this night. We're grateful for our blessings and for the abundance that we have. We're thankful to live in Hyde Park with so many good people. Father, we pray for our citizens that they can be blessed and helped, especially in those trials that some might be facing. We pray tonight that we can have thy help in considering the things that are on our agenda, that we can have wisdom and guidance, that we can have forethinking, and please be with us here with thy spirit. And we pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I'll stand and follow me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Council, the first item on the agenda is this is different. We need to accept the agenda.
You can do the agenda and the minutes at the same
Oh.
time.
Cool beans. Good. We want to accept the minutes and the agenda is there for review and approval. I have no amendments.
One thing on the minutes for the final plat for Wolfpack Heights subdivision. So shows the motion carrying 3-0 and it was actually 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you.
pretty minor, but we still may want to capture it.
Yep.
Kirk wants to make sure he's heard.
Yeah, I want my name in there.
Yeah, that's all I have.
have
Steph-
nothing.
I don't have any.
Gerald? No. Kurt? With that minor amendment to the minutes, I would look for a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Stephanie, a second from Tiffany. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries 5-0. Now is the time that we open it up for citizen input and comments from the council. We would look to limit it for no more than 3 minutes and try and keep it on items that aren't currently on the agenda. And so we would turn it over to the council, the city, for resident input. Having none, we'll close that portion and move on to some business. Chief.
All right. I believe, Marcus, if you could pull up the stats, or let's start first with the stats for this week. Total between the two towns or two cities there, the PD handled 143 calls this last week. 27 of those were for Hyde Park and 116 were for North Logan. We had 14 traffic stops in Hyde Park, and that ratio ended up being a 21% site to warning ratio on that. We're still seeing our top three as far as accidents, medicals, and animal problems as being the number 1, 2, and 3 for number of calls in Hyde Park. And then you throw in some of the others that you see there. We are still seeing an increase in our calls. I have kept that up there. I don't have June's numbers yet. Beginning of July, they'll send me those and I can update that bottom graph there. But it does give a good idea of what we're seeing here. June has been a pretty busy month for the PD on that. The second thing, unless there's questions, I'll move on to the trailer report from that. Okay. Marcus, if you'll pull up the radar stat page. So this is the first radar trailer report, the report that I was able to do. We placed it up on 700 East at 356 North there. And it was on the east side of the highway with the sign facing north. So northbound traffic could see the sign. This particular trailer is known as a speed calming trailer. So it flashes red and blue lights as the drivers get above a set limit. On this one, I'd set it at 30. And when people got to 31, the red and blue started to flash. And we did see a calming influence. So the trailer was set there June 18th, and I picked it up on the 24th.
When you say a calming influence, does that mean that you caught them going 35 coming in and it measured them going 25 going out?
So
How do you know that it's calming?
because the initial burst speed is higher, and then as they get closer, it slows down on that. So as they pass the trailer, this trailer measures as they're coming towards it, and then again as they're moving away from it.
Okay, that's
both
what it
directions.
does. Okay.
Yep. So it does have that calming influence. On the second page there, it breaks it down. So we had 6,455 vehicles that passed by that trailer from the 18th until the 24th there. 3,045 were at the speed limit or under the speed limit, or 47%. And then 3,410 were traveling over the speed limit on that, or 52%. With that, the average speed recorded was 24.76, and the fastest speed was 50, which I was actually surprised on. I thought that would have been higher in that location. I was looking for speed somewhere in the 70s on that. So that is good, I suppose, on that. The 85th percentile, that speed listed at 29 miles an hour on that. And then as you scroll down, the graph right below that gives you some more data on that. So this is the graph that you see with the red line there is the 85th percentile mark. So on the left side, you see the percentage, and then at the 30 line, you see a faint line. That's the 29 mile an hour. And when it reaches the 85th percentile, that's where they get that number. That's where that 29 came from, as it measured all of those cars there. So,
Chief, got a question.
You bet.
Looking at that graph, it's capturing
I don't know, a certain number of vehicles going 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. Right?
Mhm.
All the way up. And
It does.
I'm thinking, well, now they're driving too slow. And so where I'm going with that is I don't know who is driving that, if it's the people coming right out of the driveway there, but I would think that including those numbers now are going to give you a lower average speed limit. Does that make sense? That there ought to be maybe
It
you,
would.
you throw out everything below 15 or 20 miles an hour because we don't want people driving 15 and a 25.
Right. It is dangerous when you get the lower speed
So
there,
I don't,
especially in that area because you have cars coming up the
Right.
hill and backing out of the
but just I
driveway.
think it include, and so I don't know, I'd ask maybe with the company or look at, if you tossed out everything at, below a certain amount, because that's going to skew your average speed limit.
Yeah. And I can look at that. I don't have the answer for that right now.
That's fun.
What I do see though, what we did for you, at the top by that yellow and green graph there, you have the breakdown in 5 mile increments of those that are speeding. So you have 2,116 of the 3,410 that were speeding that are in between that 26 and 30 mile an hour range. And we broke it down by that. So you can get a good idea of what people are actually traveling at. Overall, what this tells me as we go through it is that when you're talking about signs and public works and what they can do to help slow traffic down, a sign that flashes like that and warns people of their speed would have a good influence on a place like this here, because we did see people slow down after the lights activated on that. So when we're looking at how can we help, with signage and other areas and things like that, a study like this is helpful. You see the number of cars and how many are slowing down afterwards. It also gives us a good idea if you were basing a speed limit strictly on the 85th percentile, the majority of people are going this speed. It would help with that. There are other considerations too. On this one, the 85th percentile, the speed was 29 miles an hour. I still think that's too high for that area. It should be a 25. And so I think it's posted appropriately for that with the pedestrian traffic and the bikers and the people that utilize that road. I think the 30 would be too high for that, but
Chief, I noticed on the data on the average speed, and I imagine closing means approaching.
uh-huh.
I would imagine that goes down to 24 because they see this trailer and they're decreasing. After they see the trailer and they're leaving, it goes up to 25.72.
Yep.
So they're speeding up again.
They're speed back up again
But
because
Speed
they're
back up
past
after
the
the trailer.
trailer.
Is that what that's really saying? I thought I thought it was capturing people coming towards the trailer.
Closing is coming, they're closing in on it.
Right, from the front, they're seeing it.
Yep.
How is it
Going away is moving away from
after they passed it? So it's not capturing people coming the other direction and towards it.
It's recording speed both
Both
directions.
ways, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it is recording speed both directions.
So
Is it the direction that the trailer is sitting, or is anything that is approaching from either direction approaching,
closing
and anything that's moving away from the trailer is
away.
away?
No, it's the first way. So it's measuring the speeds as they're coming. It
To
measures it from
to
the front, basically.
of the trailer.
Yes, from the front of
Okay.
the trailer. As you approach the front, that is closing, and anything else is moving away on that.
Got it.
I know it's kind of backwards for it, but that is how it does it on that.
So would it flash the lights if it is facing northbound or facing north and somebody's approaching from the south? Would it still flash the lights, or is it only flash as they approach from the
It only
north?
flashes as you approach it. Yeah,
From the front.
from the front.
Ah,
Okay.
Yes,
Cause it's only, cause that's the side of the road it's on.
right.
No, but okay, now I'm confused. I need to step back. So I thought it was tracking speeds coming towards it from both directions.
It is.
It is.
Yes, but the lights are on the front of the signs.
Where you
That are approaching it, they're seeing the lights.
But if you
There.
can't, if you're seeing the back of it, it's still,
as
it's
you're
still,
moving away and you're speeding, the lights may still flash, but it's behind you.
They won't see that on
Yeah,
that. So
But they would
But they
still
will
flash.
flash.
No, if they're away from it, they won't flash. So it gets you a real true measurement of what you're seeing. If people aren't seeing the lights go off right there, then it gives you a true representation of what people are doing. Like, just like you're talking about, they're speeding up as soon as they get past the trailer.
So
there.
out of the three directions that it could be measuring, it's only measuring, or out of the four directions, it's only measuring one. If you're approaching from it, the lights will only come
There you
on
go.
The lights will only come on if you're
if
approaching
you're
from the
approaching.
front.
If you're moving away from the front, it will not come on.
Right.
And
Or if you're moving towards the back, it'll track
If you
you, but
passed
it's
it.
not gonna.
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, it's still recording the speeds, which is what
Okay.
you see there. If you look at the last page there,
Huh.
Marcus, if you'll scroll down to that last page. So these are the times and the number of vehicles that in the mile per hour. So 16 to 20, 21 to 25, 26 to 30. What this does is it tells us when our best enforcement is, basically when the highest volume of cars are moving and the speeds that they're moving at on that. So
that tells you when the most cars, it doesn't tell you when the highest speeds are rated, right? Or when.
no, it does. The
does.
numbers on the top are miles per hour. So the 6 to 10, 11, 15.
Oh, gotcha. I was thinking that was something else. Okay.
No, that's the miles per hour and how many cars we're seeing. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the 46 to 50 range.
So I mean, you look at that chart and it appears like, wow, there's a lot of people going really fast, but out of 6,000,
9 to 5.
there's really only a very small percentage that are going even more than 10 over.
Right.
They're going 36 or higher, even, you know, you're seeing some numbers in there, but
Well,
comparatively,
it's
it's
25 on that road.
It's 25 hours. So
right.
It's double. the
And
limit,
what I'm
but
saying
there's
is,
very few out of the 3,410 that were over the 25
Yeah.
that are in that range.
and typically you aren't going to stop somebody that's going 8 over, right? Yeah,
That
depending
really depends on the officer.
time of day and.
Give it a
Yeah.
try, Dave. Figure it out.
Well, I've been a ride along,
No, I mean,
so,
be the follow upon.
well, no,
It does vary per officer on that.
yeah.
A lot of the officers stop once they get to 10 over on that. That's when you really start to get it. That's interesting on that. So this study helps us as we look at, okay, guys, we have high speeds here during this time, go up on 7th East, or we have high speeds down here on 2nd South, go here during this time. It helps us figure out where we need to put people.
Okay.
I was on that road Sunday and I saw the red lights,
Did he?
but I thought it was the one ahead of me. When does it take over for the next car?
I think
So-
it was flashing at you.
I think so.
What is that I'm worried
I
about?
think we have 3 confessions and he deserves a
But
ticket.
it is noticeable though. That's the first time I'd seen it and I thought, ooh. I slowed down immediately. I was quite a ways back because I thought it was a police officer's
Uh-huh.
car.
That's the calming influence that it has. People hit their brakes when
Yeah.
they come on, which is what we want them to do.
Even if you're
But-
going 20.
If there's 2 or 3 cars going towards that, when does it quit this one and pick up the next one?
So it sends out a radar beam like that. It goes out in a 15-degree increment like that. Once that car gets past a certain point, it picks
Okay.
up the one behind it
Okay.
on there. So it's hard to tell you exactly when that moves in and out of that, but it'll
just-
pick up on, you'll see it change from car to car to car.
You just need to start drafting with those speeders, Kirk, and you'll just slipping right behind it.
Chief, where's the trailer going next?
So the trailer, I've already moved it. It's up on 2nd South and 800 East up there. It's on the south side of the road as cars are going up the hill on that.
Oh, man.
Can we
You should
get
have
like,
going, to catching the ones coming down. That's
Yeah.
where they're picking
Well,
up the speed and come down over that canal.
Yep, they come down from the 16th there. They'll go past.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on that one, but stuff like this for Public Works, when they're needing a study of how many cars are going up and down the road, this captures that too, you know, of what
Yeah.
direction and just time of day and things like that. Those are all things that would be helpful too when you're doing grants.
This is great, chief.
Excellent.
get 400 east and about 470 north on your schedule? I'm serious.
That's
The
a-
weekend,
Like northeast.
the weekend, like
Further, like 100 north.
Friday through Monday morning, because
Yep.
Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night.
I what we need, Mayor, is 2 or 3 more trailers. I have so many requests right now to put the trailer out that I'm trying to leave it at a week at a time because I think that
Yeah.
a really good reflection of all the days and when people are moving. But there's
And
so many.
remind us, Chief, these were 20 grand? give or
No,
take?
this ended up being 11.
Oh,
something.
okay. Okay.
on
And we
that. So
have just the one.
we have just the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have 2 older ones that we can't keep power to them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they don't have the data capability that this one does.
Okay.
So we're taking requests, like I said, for the next locations, but we,
Well, since North Logan isn't here to speak, we'll give you the next 3.
Yes, because 100 East is not a road, it's a landing strip.
Sorry, he just came from North Logan and they already got the next month scheduled. We're about an hour late.
All right. Thank you, Chief. I think that
welcome.
gives us a lot of good data. That's information that we need to have.
absolutely.
That helps us, especially helps the safety, traffic and safety committee that we've put together.
Yep.
Marcus, let's turn it over to you.
All right, City Council, in the folder is the full weekly staff report. A couple key things I want to highlight. The city office park out here will be closed next week for installing the water line as part of our project. It's going to be closed all week, Monday through Friday. So that's a bummer for everyone with kids. But then the pipeline will be installed and project will continue. So we're happy about that. Then the only other 2 other big ones I wanted to highlight. Number 1, if you go to Legacy Park this evening, you'll see that we've poured the footings for our new embankment slide. The plan is that next week we'll pour the foundation and the apron that goes around it. And then hopefully the week after we'll pour the actual slide. So that project is coming along quite nicely.
And then we got to put a seal coat on it, right?
Absolutely.
How can we track or an awareness of how much it's used? I'm just thinking of moving forward, if it's the kind of thing that we would want to consider, like in a survey and put in other parks. I mean, other
Just
than
go by the
like
park. That
Just-
park is heavily used.
just, I guess we can visit it. We'll each take a night and see how busy it is. Right, yeah. Okay.
If you want to get an exact count, I can
Well,
figure something out.
Well, we don't need that, but I just,
Cameras, there's motion detectors, there's all sorts of
Yeah.
tools out there, but.
Anyway.
And then the other thing was the Visionary Homes work session that's scheduled for July 9th at 6 PM. Both the Planning Commission and the City Council are invited to that, so. Those are the highlights. There's a bunch of other things on there. Any questions about specific items?
I think the big thing from my perspective is Mikkel is wrangling in all of our codes and plans, and she's not only hit the ground running, but sprinting. She's doing a great job and providing insightful insight to Marcus of why are we doing it that way? Why not? And so we said, tell us what we're doing wrong. Get us to do it right and make it better, faster. And she's got that directive that let's improve things. So,
yeah, good addition.
The only other thing, I'll give you an update on, or maybe the chief will help me on this one, on our deer report, our plan.
Absolutely. The deer plan has been approved by DWR. They're good to go with that. It'll start August 1st on that. We have everything submitted. I'm waiting for the registration number to come
And
back.
then, and the permit package.
Yep.
Have they given us the number?
They haven't given us a number
Okay.
yet. I'm waiting on them, but everything's been turned in and it has been approved. So as soon as they give us that, it's official. But my guys have started to get some of the equipment that they need, the face shields. They've got the DeWalt saw, little sawzall that they brought.
Yeah.
They're starting to get prep for that. And I'd imagine, like I said, we'll start with the heaviest areas that need it, August 1.
So Marcus, we need to, we put out that questionnaire on our city Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
One aspect of it was, would you be willing to take some?
Right.
And I know Susan has that. I mean, she's out of town right now, but we ought to get that compiled list. They have names. We ought to put numbers on there, and we're a step ahead of North Logan. They didn't ask that question.
Yep.
Yeah, it was an optional question on our survey. We asked if the respondent was interested in taking one of the harvested deer. We asked them to leave a name and contact info. Most of them, we got a name and a phone number and email address. So we'll reach out.
That's awesome.
We can reach out to the emails and get a phone number for a quicker
Right.
access.
Because they
I'll
need to
have-
be able to respond within a given period of time, because we don't expect the police to hang out there for 3 hours waiting for somebody.
No, there's too much to do.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
too many other things.
we'll compile the list, get all the contact info, sent over a nice spreadsheet, and we'll get it sent to you.
You'll
Thank
be
you.
Yep.
getting that here end of this month, first of next. So we'll get that compiled and sent to you, chief.
Yep, that's awesome. That plan will go until July 31st of 2028 before
No
we'll
kidding.
have to revisit it again.
3 years.
Three.
So,
Remember, it's not a removal of all deer, it's removal of thinning the herd in very stressed areas, such as Mr. Ashcroft's field, and perhaps in your field, if you're getting damaged like Mark is.
Yeah, I mean, we still have some of them down there. I think the road has kind of changed their pattern of.
Yeah,
Because they used to go down in those trees west of it. They're still about $4 or $5 hanging out.
oh, yeah. Mark's got about a herd of 20 up there. So. Okay,
Mayor, do we have a plan to include that in the August newsletter? Should we inform the residents somehow on our website, Facebook?
Chief's already jumping on that one.
I'm happy to, I'll submit an article to Danya on that. That includes the hows and whys and all that.
Yep,
So,
yeah, and what it is and what it isn't.
yes,
So. Okay.
Right, thanks, Chief.
you're welcome.
Chief, are any of the animal, are they deer or are they dogs, or what are the most of the animal problems that you have in your stats?
A lot of them, to be honest, are noise problems with dogs barking. Too many. We get constant reports of this family has 3 dogs, they should only have 2,
Okay.
stuff like that. But mostly it's noisy animals on that. We have had a few rock chuck problems that have come in. People want us to get rid of their rock chucks for them. That's what,
I know a guy.
old guy knows a guy.
So the tags, our deer plan is approved. We had to submit it, and we had to submit the harvesting process, and it is with the police doing the harvesting, because there's too many risks associated with people, proximity to houses, kind of like where you're talking. But if I know North Logan and Hyde Park, we've got some real problem areas, but you have an area thing, we certainly can, and I know you've got a lot of open area in the back. It's certainly something that the chief could look into to come in and do it. Don't do it.
Oh, I think
I
Yeah.
think it's a different question.
That's a good
yeah, I think
question,
the
yeah.
question was more of if he gets a harvested deer and he's got it hanging up and he's
Oh,
butchering
Yeah.
it in his
You'll-
yard and somebody
you'll
sees
have
it, is he
tag,
gonna get in
you'll have
trouble?
tag with it. Yeah,
That,
because anybody that takes it down to Horlockers or anything like that, they have to give a tag. But you'll have a tag with the deer. It'll have a DWR tag.
and we provide that report back to them as well as who took it and how many were harvested. So,
At that time of year, Horlockers wouldn't take it without a tag. Well, they should take any without a tag, but. All right, the next item is, if you'll take a look, this is the adjusted new creative agenda, what I've done is action items, if possible. I associate them with goals from our general plan, and the action plans associate short-term. And if there's long-term, we'll associate it. So this first one is to consider a request from DWA. We will open this to a public hearing on this one. No? Oh, the other ones, I'm sorry. Consider a request by DWA to do a 4 a.m. concrete pour at the new elementary school. I know on the previous one, on the middle school, we had them submit a plan,
Mhm.
and we're requesting that same plan from DWA that they have to do continuous pours on certain floors, otherwise they end up with structural issues and walls and things. So it'll happen. Some of them are continuous, so they sent us a very good calendar the last time on the middle school, and we're requesting that same thing here and wanting them to comply with that. But they wanted to bring it to the council for approval to get early pours, but we're going to not only say the 4 a.m., we want a schedule of what they're doing. So it's open it up, and we would approve this by a motion.
How many days are they thinking? Just one? One day?
No, it's never just one. Ah, you are with them. Oh, I didn't even see the hat. Come on up if you would.
No, it'll be multiple.
Yeah, we will.
So the new elementary has, not only is it floor slabs, but it is a tilt-up structure.
So we know who you are, but can you just say your name for the record?
Wayne Anderson.
Thanks, Wayne.
President of DWA.
Okay.
So it'll be multiple pours. They will go fairly fast. They will start probably mid-July on some of the casting pads for the walls, and they will probably run, you're probably gonna have 15-ish. I would think maybe. Yeah, but they're gonna pour a lot of them at the same time.
I think the last time on middle school, it was kind of like a Gantt chart that you submitted that.
Yep. We'll do the
And
same thing.
that would, please submit that same thing. That's what we know that. Yeah, give us a notice, and then we send out a pigeon notice to everybody else to buckle up, Buttercake, because it might go happen 24/7 for a while.
You would not have probably more than 1 or 2 at most during any 1 week period.
Yeah,
There'll
3
be-
days, 1 week, miss a week, then hit another 3 days or something like that, but it'll be intermittent like that through October.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be, what's the real reason? If you're only gonna do it a couple of times a week, can't you start at 6 or 8 o'clock in the morning and do it 3 or 4 times a week? I mean, I'm really trying to understand if you just
So-
need 12 hours or 18 hours straight, so you gotta
The
start
problem
so
with
early.
concrete is it's a chemical reaction.
Mhm.
Depending on temperature, either accelerates that chemical
Okay.
reaction or decelerates it. And if you go too late in the day,
That's,
it accelerates it, and then we
Right.
get cracking from
Got it.
shrinkage cracks, and it compromises.
so the real issue is avoiding the heat of the afternoons.
It is.
If
It
if
would
we were
require
pouring
structural issue.
in March or April, then you have the opposite problem with cold temperatures.
Yeah,
So
then
we're
we would
just,
start at 7 because it's too cold.
right, yeah, okay, perfect. I just need to,
The nice thing is that in summer, it's just a morning disturbance. In the winter,
you've got,
you start at 7, but it's backwards. You go till midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning
yeah,
to finish it out.
right,
So
okay.
either way, we hit the threshold of the noise ordinance. So.
Right,
So council, I would look for the approval of this is yes, pending that Gantt chart. That's what we would be approving, and notifying the city, giving us ample time to let residents know that, sleep with earplugs for a moment. That's a good cover for you. She's one of them.
Oh,
and every time they violate it, they owe us another like 100 feet of sidewalk somewhere in the city.
100 feet of sidewalk.
Just, just hurt to throw it out there.
Please don't put that in the minutes.
Well, it's just a penalty, right? Isn't there a fine, of?
They did very well the last time followed their plan.
Yeah. Well, I move that we go ahead and approve early pours starting no earlier than 4:00 a.m. based upon the Gantt chart and prior notification of those days.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion from David and a second from Tiffany. Any more discussion, council? All those in favor say aye,
Aye.
and any opposed with nay.
Thank you.
We'll look for that schedule. You'll probably do it in pencil first, and as it gets closer, then you'll get one in ink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Adjust that podium.
okay, the next item of business is to have a public hearing, but to discuss what it is first is to consider a proposed resolution amending the 2024-25 city budget, resolution 2025-10. So Danya, this is absolutely where you shine.
Okay, I can go through as much or as little as you would like, but basically we didn't do a mid-year budget adjustment because it really wasn't necessary. But this just cleans up the books as we're going into the end of the fiscal year, which ends Monday.
We'll also end up doing a closeout in August or something like that.
Yeah, in August, we'll approve the new budget, but if there's any big amendments throughout the year, we'll do them at that time. If there's not, we'll just do one at the end of next fiscal year. It just kind of depends on how the budget year goes.
I should have asked you this earlier, Don, you want to talk why the new budget starts in July?
July 1.
Why do we not approve it until August?
That's the final approval. We've got a interim budget
Right.
approved.
Why?
Yeah.
We'll
talk about it later.
No, we can't approve the final budget until we know what our property tax,
Oh, that-
certified tax
Yes,
rate is.
That's right. Okay.
And that can't be done until August.
Yeah,
so.
okay.
And then we
Yeah.
do a final closeout of the previous. This should get us there, these adjustments. Do you have any questions on?
Yeah, do you have any questions? I think some of the big ones, building permits, I always budget low on that because you never know what the year's gonna look like. And as you can see, they're so busy now. We're doing a lot of building permits, and so we have been able to increase that. Bonus density, we did sell a few of the lots this year. I mean, we did get a couple of the lots. And the street projects, that's always questionable. We had some more money, and so they were able to spend some more money, so we're adjusting the budget in that. Those are the big ones. The capital projects, they look like big ones because they're in the millions, but it's some of the grants were actually done last year instead of this year. But the budget has to be approved before the end of the fiscal year anyway, so it's just kind of a cleanup. It's some of the grants were used last year that we thought wouldn't be used till this year, and vice versa. Some of the grants were pushed back to this year. So it's just kind of a cleanup on our grants.
Is the cog roundabout, isn't that number off?
Yeah, it's just what was left of it.
That was probably.
And it could, I wish I,
No, because the roundabout, we only,
Got 350.
yeah, and it
Oh,
costs
it's-
like
this is-
500 and something.
yeah. That might be Wolfpack Way.
It's a pretty
That's,
expensive.
that's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
CMPO.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably CMPO.
You've got CPO rankings too.
Yeah.
That's a pretty expensive roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a
That'd
very.
be a
good
Smithfield one.
roundabout.
That'd be a Smithfield one by the high school.
Who approved that stinking round?
That'd be a federal roundabout. That's federal money there. Yeah, so that number's less than that. That one's not correct, right?
Right.
Unless
Well,
maybe the
wish I'd brought
description
my-
isn't correct.
yeah, the description isn't correct. The
Right.
number is.
The numbers.
Numbers
correct.
have to
Okay,
match,
gotcha,
right? They
gotcha.
have to, yeah.
We've closed
Okay.
out the CMPO Wolfpack Way.
Wolfpack Way is closed out and 700 East,
Is, no, 700 East, we're doing the chip seal in 2 days.
right, I think you're right. Yeah,
We figured it out.
yeah, it's
Okay.
just 700 East, not
It's not the roundabout.
roundabout.
It's about 700 east.
Okay, gotcha. So
Anyway, the roundabout's
Okay,
complete.
that makes sense now.
700 East is complete with the exception of one engineering bill. But we've submitted to get refunded, but we haven't received the money yet. So that may actually go into next year. It most likely will.
Yeah,
Um,
because we're doing a chip seal on 700. We won't get the bill on that until after probably July 1st, since it's getting chip sealed Friday.
Yeah, and then the CMPO is complete, but except for the wetlands.
Mitigation point.
And so we're close to submitting that one, but that one won't go in this fiscal year either. And the original budget showed that we would get that reimbursement and we won't get it until next year. So
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Council, do you have any other questions along this? Or let's open the public hearing portion. There we go. We'll open it up for public input or question or comments about the budget adjustment. Having none, we'll close the public comment or question on the public hearing, and we will now turn it to you, council, to either have more questions or make a motion to approve resolution 2025-10.
I'll make a motion that we pass resolution 2025-10.
Second,
We got a motion from Stephanie and a second from Kurt. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed with nay? The next item is to have a public hearing to consider of a proposed ordinance enacting compensation increase specifically for city officers, which is the managers, which would be building department manager, public works, and city administrator. So if you pull up that, what we budgeted is 5%.
So council, this resolution, this is the second year we've done it. It was a new law that got approved by the state legislature in 2024. It required that any department heads or executive staff, such as city manager, assistant city manager, or administrator,
Yeah.
their increases specifically would have to be approved after a public hearing. So the mayor is absolutely correct. We budgeted for a 5% total increase for all employees, 3% of that being cost of living increase, and additional 2% based on performance as determined by performance evaluations. As you can see, the three being presented tonight are being recommended for the full 5% increase.
We don't have to do it for all employees. We just have to do it for the senior.
So they must be approved every year.
Yeah.
We have to have a
So
public hearing.
any department heads or executive level staff, we have to, by state law, have a public hearing to approve any salary increases for those positions.
Yep.
So do we have to approve all of these together?
Yes,
Or
it's
can we
one
can pick and
resolution.
choose?
Well, you can actually make any changes you would like right now, Gerald.
All right, I just want to know all my options.
So be aware that that does not mean 8. It means
Total.
total.
Total five.
Yeah,
So the total is
5
5.
is what's been allocated for it. And I would. Well, I'll leave it at that. So we'll have the public hearing, open it up for the public hearing at this time for ordinance 2025-16 for compensation increase for the specific city officers.
Steinberger, 158 East Center.
Oh, you don't have to give your address. Actually,
Well, it
just,
doesn't matter.
I,
Nobody's
yeah,
gonna come after.
everyone knows where you live anyway, thanks, but
If they do, I'm insured by.
Oh.
Smith and Wesson.
it's right here charging.
No pressure,
Same?
but we have to.
I got-
Now we're gonna put you on a real, we're gonna start this because.
We got 3 minutes.
If the mayor can. Well, yeah. Some of it.
You gotta put it up where he can see it though.
Can you
There
see?
you go.
That's good.
Yeah,
It's your shot clock.
Pretty dim.
So last year you did a 4 to 7%. I was here,
It was, okay,
4 to 7% after you interviewed them or whatever.
okay.
So, and you use Nibley City as a comparison. You've
We
got-
use several cities, but yes,
So this is public information
yeah,
that I looked up. I mean, you can type in any of your names and see what you're making.
no, yeah.
So as I looked at it and I tried to compare it to Nibley, you can't really do it only on a few. Because they're, what? They're
Different names to their.
they're set up different. Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
Position wise,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I looked at it and I'm going, well, I know what each one of them make. Here, I need to get a job for the city. No, I'm just saying. So I compared. Marcus is the one that's underpaid.
Oh, that's where I said, and then I held back. He's probably the lowest paid city administrator in the valley.
Yeah, Nibley makes 170 grand a year. Marcus is not making that.
Tell Marcus that.
I already know.
I know.
Analysis.
Marcus
There-
can tell us all this.
But their city manager has been around for a really, really
Yeah.
long time. He was the recorder before and
3 years,
not that I,
yeah.
I told Marcus I thought he should get paid more.
Anyway,
You guys.
If you're still here in 2 decades, Marcus, we'll talk about it.
Minute, 15 seconds.
okay, then.
So your highest paid employee is Darren Hansey. Your building inspector.
No, not anymore.
Okay.
But he was.
According to what I looked at. With benefits, he makes 151,185.
With benefits.
Yes. Marcus makes. 2024, 147,247. I
With
dare say
benefits.
Marcus spends 25% more time here than Darren does. I say you give Darren a raise, or I mean, you give Marcus a raise. So I'm just thinking. You got 4 to 7% last year, you're going up to 5 this year. How much is my taxes going up?
We haven't had, oh, go ahead. I'm not gonna take your time.
So I got 19 seconds on the question, but yeah, I mean, I got 2% last year. I worked 60 something years to get it. So that's, I'm just saying, I looked it all up. It's all public information.
Mhm.
So get on to, get on to.
Wow,
That's a good,
can't miss that.
beat the shot clock today.
We can change.
We're trying to get ourselves on a new behavior as well. Do we have any other comment on the public hearing portion? If not, we'll close the public hearing portion and I will go ahead and say that we haven't raised our tax rate for a number of years. Now, the value of your house may go up, which would then cause you to pay more taxes. The county may increase their tax rate or something like that, but Hyde Park City, we're still at the same one we've been for some time. 0.0011, yeah, and that's what we target for, so. But Thane is correct, on what he said, and know that the with benefits number is about 30% of that or more. How high a percent is that in the benefits, taxes and that? So I was gonna say about 30%,
Probably.
30-40%.
Yeah.
Yeah, our
Okay.
benefits package is like 30 some odd thousand for the single
Yeah.
plan. If you've got a family plan, it's more. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but yes, he is. It's exactly as Thane said, but know that when he quotes a number, that also includes all of the insurances,
Right.
unemployment, everything, all the, what I call the fully burdened rate. So,
When someone's salary is raised, is the benefit package raised
Mm-mm.
in a
No.
certain
No.
similar
So-
percentage?
The benefits get determined when we do our insurance adjustments every year. This year, our PHP, our insurance provider, we were able to keep the rate pretty low. Total, our benefits packages only went up by 4%, which sounds like a lot, but statewide, that's a really good number compared to what other cities we're looking at.
Yeah.
so
So this proposed 5% increase,
is
In
solely based on
salary.
wage.
and that's just wage, that salary is not going to
Correct.
impact the cost of benefits.
The benefits are budgeted for separately.
Correct. Okay. Thanks.
And what is the increase that the staff is getting? Is that 5%?
So we budgeted for 5% across the board. Everybody was a little bit
Not-
different
not
depending
everybody.
on,
We're not giving them the full
Performance.
percentage.
but I will say, generally speaking, most everybody was recommended for the full 5%.
No, nobody more than 5%, and maybe a few cases a little bit less than that for whatever reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
in that
In that-
area.
in
The way that we do it is basically we say 5% across the board equates to this much money.
Yeah, okay.
And then as long as the raises don't go above that amount, some people get a little bit more than 5, some people get a little bit less than 5. It all goes back to the merit.
Yeah.
We've looked at positions like treasurer through the valley and recorder through the valley. And we've never aspired to be the highest paying on any position, but we've never aspired to be the lowest. We want to be fiscally sound, but we want to compensate our people for the great job we're doing, and I think our staff is amazing, so.
Yeah.
And I know for the city, having insurance go up 4%, chief would love that. If probably the police department only had that. I don't know what yours went up.
Ours went up 3.1%, but other cities, at Logan City, I know last year went up 31%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a huge increase for their PD.
When I was at my city managers conference, I was hearing numbers from across the state in the 10, like from 8 to 15% across the state. So when we got 4 back, we said, hey, we'll take it.
So that's doing well to manage the costs, so. Do you have any other questions, comments on that?
One thing I'll just say about it is, I've worked for the state of Utah for years and, I mean, we had years where we didn't even get cost of living,
Yeah, I
let
knew.
alone any merit. And so, it seems like about every year, since I've been here, we've been giving our people some both, which is, I think good, but sometimes there's probably years where maybe we don't have it to give.
I know, Don, you'll remember this. When I was mayor previously, we had 1 or 2 years where we didn't do any raises. When I first got in there as mayor, it was, we had a very tight budget. We had inherited something that was difficult, and honestly, I had a sight set on paying off a city debt and probably should have taken more time to do that and compensated people. People's the biggest asset that we have. And, but we did that for 1 or 2 years where we didn't have raises.
I'll say there's two factors that we really look at when we determine budgeting for raises. Number one is market. So we look at our positions compared to other cities of similar size. Are we paying comparable in consideration with our population and our overall city budget? We know that we're not going to be the highest paid city in the valley for comparable positions. It's just not feasible with our budget and with our population. It's just a given. The other thing we look at as far as overall percentage is with my connections with my state group of city managers. They send out an informal survey to the group every year saying, what are you looking at for raises? And so we'll try to match our overall percentage raise in the same neighborhood as other cities in the state, just so we're keeping up with everyone else. So that when, you know, Logan City or whoever is looking for new people, it's not as enticing of an offer because we've been giving equivalent increases. So there's two factors that we look at. 5% was on the low end of what the rest of the state was doing this year. But with the uncertainty with the market and everything else, we just weren't sure if our budget could handle the same level of increases that we were seeing with some of the bigger cities. So we did budget for on the more conservative side for raises overall compared to what the rest of the state is doing.
We, like I said, we know what we budgeted. We didn't allocate all of it. And,
Could you repeat that
we,
one more
we,
time?
we know that what we budgeted for all
pay?
of the staff.
Okay.
And with the review process, we didn't allocate all the funds that we budgeted just because how the reviews came out. So if we had $17 to disperse amongst everyone per hour, we have a small, well under $1 remaining that could be dispersed.
Okay, so what do we do with that money?
We-
Sorry, Tiff.
We haven't
Stephanie.
we haven't used it. It stays in the budget.
It goes.
Just stays in the general fund.
Stays
but
in the
could
general
be
Spent
fund.
for
somewhere else.
Whatever.
It's in the general fund.
Okay.
But it is something that we set aside last March when we were starting the budget process, that what we were going to try and do, because we know that the staff in comparison to like cities, nobody compares with Logan, first off, but we compare with similar cities here in Cache Valley. We know where our positions are in comparison to similar positions.
So if we wanted to increase one person's above the 5%, what could we do?
You could,
I mean, what's available?
Whatever's left over.
like I said, it's under $1 an hour. So if it were $1 an hour, that would mean there would be $2,080 left in that budget for somebody to receive in a year, if there was $1. So divide 2,080 up by 12 months.
So what you're saying is a little left over, but you spent 99.5%
Yeah.
of the money's budgeted for salary. So it's not a big
there's
chunk of change that's left.
not a big
It's-
chunk, but you could have us, don't know what the percentage is, but it's well under 1,000, 2,000. I think it's closer to 1,000, but you can.
And I just want to throw out there, we we don't always, we never try to maximize
Yeah.
every budget. In this case, when we were done giving the raises, looked at the final number and said, oh, we have a little bit left over.
And- Yeah.
and
Better,
it
better
really
than being over and going, well, gee, who are we gonna like cut
And
back
it-
from now?
It really speaks to the level of the entire city staff that everyone in all the reviews with every employee and the supervisors, that everyone is recommended for pretty much the
Decent
full
raise.
raise.
Yeah.
It speaks really highly of the city staff. We haven't had that in years past. And so we have a really good group right now.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, it's kind of like how Danya does her budgeting. She always may project a cost higher than it might be and our revenues lower than it might be, just to give us the worst case scenario. Just because we budget it doesn't mean we have to spend it, or we don't have to spend it at this time. It could be in the form of bonuses or something like that as well. But knowing that we have it there is a good thing too. But any other increase to any of those department heads would require another public hearing. So,
I see.
You can just modify the resolution with, I mean, the cost of living, we're not going to change that because that's a static number that we pull from the Utah retirement systems. But if you wanted to up the proposed total percentage on anybody, you would just modify the resolution.
you can't,
I mean,
I don't know what the percentage.
I'm not
is.
going to recommend an increase just because that feels awkward, but the final budget hasn't been approved yet for the next year. So it's still in limbo.
Yeah,
Kirk,
I would say
what do you think?
I think I know the purpose of the question, but I went out and looked at other municipalities' budgets that they were approving. And I think we held a tight hand with the police department. We held a tight hand. We watched North Logan. I looked up Hiram. I looked up Smithfield, Providence, Nibley, Wellsville, and Richmond to see all of those cities. And then I just got sickened when I look at Logan. So I quit looking things up. But we're at the same rate as most of them. Some are less. I think one was higher. But some were at that 4%, 3.5%, 4%. Most were at 5%, and one was just a bit over. So
If we were really tight with
Yes,
law
we were.
enforcement, you know, if they were city employees, they would be getting 5 instead of 3 something, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, so that's hard to
I know.
really justify anymore, as much as I sit here and go, yeah, sure, let's,
Which brings
them
up a whole
more,
other
'cause they-
discussion of what
yeah.
the county's trying to do. But- So,
I'm all in favor of 5% for our department heads, and I move that we pass ordinance 2025-16.
got a motion to approve ordinance 2025-16. Is there a second?
Second.
That motion was from Stephanie and a second from Kurt. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay?
I.
Oh,
Late I.
Huh?
I just was.
That was it. It was a
delay.
delayed aye. It wasn't a nay. Okay. We
I
motion-
think really the argument that Marcus made as far as maintaining, keeping up with the market, it's just so hard to get behind and try to jump ahead. Then you lose people in the meantime.
We do.
So. And I don't want to lose Danya.
Well,
Oh,
I,
he's not here. But
Well, it's the same principle as like the tax increase, right? Where you look at Cache County, they didn't increase their tax rate for what, a decade? And then suddenly
Oh.
it was a massive jump. Whereas Hyde Park, I had a lunch with the other city managers in the valley, and they were all talking about their woes of doing tax increases and how it's been so many years. And one of them said, "Who's doing tax increases this year?" There's only a couple hands, and then everybody's like, "Where's Marcus?" The Hyde Park does one every year. And I said, "Yeah, we've got one on the schedule." Then how much? I said, "Right now it's holding the rate, and we have everything that we need for the budget just by holding the rate." And one of the people from Tremont and said, "How did you convince your city council to do it?" I said, "I didn't have to convince them. You get screamed at enough times at those awful public hearings, it makes the yearly increases that are minuscule a lot more bearable." And that's the same idea with these wage increases. If we keep up with the market, you keep your people happier. It's a little bit more of an expense, but it's better than holding off for 5 years and then you lose a bunch of key people because you can't keep up with the wages. And so then you have to do a massive increase, and it's no fun.
So
So thank you for doing.
Well, we don't want to lose anyone.
Yeah, I was gonna recommend that maybe mid-year we look at this again. Because we really need to keep the city administrator where most city administrators are. So I don't know, maybe mid-year we look at this again and see if at that time we could support a mid-year raise or something.
yeah, and there's, you're all saying this from the chief. He's going to make my next year difficult now.
Yeah, but it's,
Because I
yeah, we,
just as we hold all of our departments on a tight fiscal budget, the chief's budget is about 75% made up of personnel versus ours is made up of building stuff and buying snowplow or saving for a sweeper that's gonna kill us for 25% for 5% of our budget. So the resources, we have a lot of assets as a city. We have a lot, but I think the best asset that we have, everything else is for naught if we don't have the right resources of people, the right human capital. And there's something to be said, as Dane will probably remember this saying, there's a little nervous trepidation that what we always did in the space program is we went to the lowest bidder. That shouldn't make you feel comfortable as an astronaut. So you get kind of what you pay for.
Yeah.
So I agree with Danya. Perhaps we look at it again, see where the position is with the city, where we're at, because I know where each of the treasurer, the recorder, or administrator, public works, where they sit in comparison to other municipalities. I said we strive to be middle, but in some places we're not. We're at the bottom. So.
Well, I agree with Danya also, and I really appreciate Dane's comments and looking up that information.
All right, we've had a motion and approval carried 5-0 on ordinance 2025-16. The next item is consider a proposed ordinance establishing a tax on gross receipts of telecommunication. We had a franchise tax. We've been working with one company. I forget their name already, but anyway, it doesn't matter. They were paying a telecommunications tax. It is the same thing, just one's a tax and the other is a franchise fee, but it comes out to be the same money. So we have to, before we can enter into an agreement with this company, we have to have that tax established. So that's what ordinance 2025-13, and we have to have a public hearing. So we'll open up the public hearing at this time. Having no comment, we'll close the public hearing and open it to council. If you have questions for Marcus on this, it's the equivalent of a franchise tax, a franchise fee.
Yeah, there's a section here. This is on page 3, the bottom of page 3. It talks about the levy of the tax and the rate. So the rate of the tax levy is set at 3.5% of the telecommunication provider's gross receipts from their services. So this isn't something that's going to go necessarily out of the residents' pockets. We already have franchise agreements with all the telecommunication providers in the city. And so this is just shifting, instead of having a contract that renews over time and we, look at that rate, we're just adopting a tax that's the same rate. And so in all those agreements, we just changed the wording from a franchise fee to that person will or pay the telecommunications service tax. I learned about this at the Utah League of Cities and Towns conference we attended back in April. And so I discussed this with the city attorney, and he said it can go either way, but we do have one telecom provider seeking a franchise agreement with the city, and they were interested in having us switch to the wording of it being a tax rather than having a franchise fee in their agreement.
So they wanted to go to a tax?
Their preferred method in their franchise agreement, so they wanted to pay the franchise tax rather than have a franchise fee. I don't know why.
Does that allow them to itemize it on their bill and just pass it on to
Probably.
There's always a concern, but where it's a percentage of the gross profits, from what I learned at my conference, it can happen, but it's uncommon, because then that just means their profits end up going higher and then they owe more in the tax. So from the anecdotal stories at the conference, most in attendance said that when they adopted that, they didn't see that reflected back on the bills of their people. But there's nothing stopping us or stopping a provider from doing that.
I would think a franchise fee might come out of gross revenues versus franchise tax could be itemized and they can receive payment for that.
Yeah.
So
But
this one is one that is an option for us out there, a way to get more tax revenue from the city, but we're already getting this from our franchise agreements. So in my opinion, it's not really, urgent that the city council approve this. This was just a tool that we have in the belt that myself and the city attorney agreed that it could be benefit.
in order for us to enter into an agreement of a company that is currently here that we've had exception with, and they're providing business in Hyde Park that we are not collecting anything from because we don't have an agreement with them. This is their preferred method, and once we get this implemented, then we can get into that agreement with them and start collecting that that tax revenue for the city. So it may not be urgent, but it's money,
How does
money
that-
you're not collecting.
How does that go through the tax commission, or are you guys just a direct tax? How does that work?
I don't know on this one. I know that the one that we're going to talk about next does go through the state tax commission. I'm not sure about
I would
this one.
imagine it goes, all the taxes like that would go through the commission because
Yeah,
the,
I would-
the next one will go through the
Is
commission. We
it
submit.
possible? I mean, I guess I'm gonna just like do a little more research on this particular one and just find out if there's, if city's gone to the tax from the franchise fee and now they wish they could go back. I don't know. I'd just like to.
I think it's just giving them two avenues to complete the same thing. How a business,
Mhm.
how an entity, a Comcast or whatever the phone company's called now, what's that?
telecommunications.
The telecommunication.
So I will point out in section 4, it does talk about the city sending a notice to the commission, which I would assume is the state tax commission. So this does go through the state tax commission.
Okay.
But it's to complete the same thing. One might use a franchise agreement like we have with maybe Xfinity or Comcast, and another one might use preferred method to pay the city the same amount of money with the tax.
Mhm.
that they
Yeah,
collect.
in theory, right now, there's nothing stopping Comcast or whoever from attaching another 0.5% to the bill and labeling it, administrative fee or something else, and that's what they use to pay the franchise fee. So as far as the training that I got on it at the conference and in discussion with the city attorney, it's like tomato, right? Like the mayor said, it's two avenues to get to the same destination.
And our attorneys looked at it. It's all
He wrote this.
Okay, so all the legal stuff is there. It's
Right.
It's really sounds like a way to start receiving.
Right. So all three of the taxes that we'll be looking at tonight were written by our city attorney. He wrote those resolutions.
Okay.
So Gerald, were you making that as a motion or?
Well, that's just kind of how I feel about it, so I guess I could make an emotion and then get it voted down, I guess.
Get it?
I guess I'd make a motion, we just hold off and, I just like to look into it a little bit more.
We have a motion by Gerald to continue it to our July next meeting. We have a motion from Gerald. Is there a second? With no second, the motion would, if there is no second, the motion would fail. Having no second, the motion fails. Is there another motion?
I move that we approve ordinance 2025-13, establishing tax on gross receipts of telecommunications service providers.
I have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-13. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Got a second from Stephanie. The motion was made by David. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. We'll move on to the next item.
I'm gonna take off, Mayor, if that's.
All right, see you, Chief.
Don't
Then
speed out there. Don't speed out there.
we know where the cops are. All right, see you. Thank you. The next item is to consider a proposed ordinance adopting a municipal transient room tax. Ordinance 2025-14. This came up.
Years ago.
I'm the one that I requested this because at some point, perhaps we'll get a hotel, but with the VRBOs and those kind of things, those that we have, we submit the number to the state when we have this on board, and the state will in turn give us a transient room tax paying for that. Whether or not the state collected that, that's up to them to go back to the VRBOs.
Right.
It's not up to us, but we will get compensated for those rentals. So
So I guess do we need to do the public
yeah,
hearing
I
before we have?
just wanted to make sure you understand what it is. So with that, we will open up the public hearing for 2025-14, adopting a municipal transient room tax. Something that we missed sometime. It's not a lot, but it beats nothing. Having no public comment, we'll close the public hearing and move it on to you, council.
I will just say on this topic, I've been in meetings recently where the tax commission in conjunction with the counties are purchasing subscriptions to help identify these type of properties.
So I
Change the
see the city can't go out and search for them, but there is an independent company that does, and they would pursue it with the state. We can't do it, but they can. They
Yeah.
pursue it with the state. I
But
have a report.
I think they changed the law though.
I have a report sent to me, as well as North Logan has a report of actually how many VRBOs we have in the city.
Yes. The owners?
Yes,
So, yeah, because I looked on the Airbnb and there's some
There's a
not
lot.
too far from where we're sitting.
yes.
And so does this apply to them? Because it doesn't, I mean, it says hotel, motel, home, tourist homes, and as a tourist
applies-
home, VRBO, is that where it falls?
So it would apply to only the ones that have been registered for the city. If we only have 6 registered for the city, then we submit that to the state. But now we can utilize the report that I have. And that can be submitted because we know how actually how many.
You're saying
It's
this,
about 4 times that.
if we approve this ordinance, it will allow us to do that, whereas right now we can't because.
So why do
Why-
it? You can't get a tax.
Yeah.
We don't have a transient room tax.
Well,
Got
the biggest reason that we'd want to do chase after the ones that are on the list is to get them licensed according to our ordinance. Anybody operating a Airbnb, VRBO, short-term rental needs to have a business license and get it inspected by the fire department and building department. So that'd be the biggest thing. I'm pretty sure when you register your house as a VRBO or Airbnb, they take that information and hand it in to the state and everything else. Cause I don't know if you guys have done one of those recently, but you're always paying taxes on them. So the state tax commission is already collecting the taxes and the data.
Yep.
All we're doing is saying, hey, as a city, we want a piece of that. And so we're adopting a 1% charge that will turn into the state tax commission. Then when they charge their taxes for that, they'll take an extra 1% and send it back to us.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing too with those is, depending on how they use it personally, they could lose their residential exemption on them as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, we've got one, I won't say where it is, that we know about that gets used as a pretty popular wedding venue most springs and summer times. And we get lots of complaints usually when they've got cars parked up and down the street and big parties going on in their backyard.
Yeah. So anyway,
Oh, I went to that.
it's an issue around the,
Option there. I know which one that is.
it's a issue around the whole state. All the counties are
Yeah.
dealing with it, cities. So.
And we do have, I think, 5 that are legally, yeah, that they have applied with the city and are very legal. So I'm sure there's a lot more out there, but we do have 5, at least 5 that are compliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 25.
Wow. Well, this seems like a slam dunk. So I make a motion that we pass ordinance 2025-14.
Got a motion from Stephanie to approve ordinance 2025-14, implementing a municipal transient room tax. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Tiffany. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? The next item is to consider a proposed ordinance imposing an energy and use tax under the municipal sales and use tax. That is ordinance 2025-14 or 15, excuse me. Marcus, can we spoke about it, but you know the particulars better than I.
Yeah, the short version is this is the same thing as the telecom one that we just looked at, but it applies to municipal energy providers like your electric companies and your gas companies. There's a few differences, a few nuances, but generally speaking, it's the same idea. And we're just trading franchise fee for a tax.
So is like the gas company currently, are they under a franchise fee or?
Yeah. So we currently have a franchise agreement with Questar. Well, yeah, but they became Enbridge.
Enbridge.
Yeah.
But our old agreement's still valid. When they switched over, we contacted them to see if they needed to renew, and their attorney reached back out and said, nope, they still keep the old trademarks, so all the old agreements are still valid. Okay.
We don't have anybody currently beating on our door that we're losing funds on this one. That
Nope.
wants to utilize this. You're just creating a second avenue for.
Right, we're doing the
public
same
utilities.
thing that we did.
For the
We're just creating a
telecommunications.
second avenue. Like you see the section 7, it says that adopting this has no effect upon existing franchises. And in fact, it can provide a credit back to those franchisees if we're, well, I mean, you can read it in section B.
All right, so At that point, let me open up the public hearing portion for ordinance 2025-15. For the imposing energy and use tax under municipal sales tax code. Having no comment, we'll close that portion and turn it back to you, council.
I'm good with it. I was just saying section 3, though, it looks like there's a couple words missing. First line, and any changes in rates made, and you're missing the word by, and I mean, that's not a big deal, but the next line says after the 90 period beginning, so probably I would say 90-day period, just to be more exact. My kids called this the red pen of death when they asked Dad to read one of their papers for school.
That's good.
But they kept asking for it.
Any more comment or input on this? If not, we'd look
No.
for a motion to approve or
I move-
continue or disapprove.
I move that we approve ordinance 2025-15, imposing an energy and use tax on municipal sales and use tax, so forth and so on.
So we got a motion from Dave to approve ordinance 2025-15
Second.
and a second from Kurt. Any more discussion, council? With the amendments that,
And that,
Right.
friendly amendments that he made?
Hmm.
Okay. Any more discussion, council? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay?
Nay. I'm doubling down.
Go in or go home, man. You're going for it. All right, the next item on the agenda, motion carried 4-1. I almost discounted your nay. I gotta close this out, get back to my document here. Is having a public hearing and then consideration of a proposed ordinance. Oh, nope. Pass that one. Consider resolution 2025-06, a resolution accepting a petition for annexation of certain real property. What that property is. Well, first off, to explain what this petition does. This is not accepting an annexation. It's you're accepting them to continue into the annexation process. The paperwork is now at the county to be annexed into Hyde Park. This is our first step after the county takes and reviews it and goes through their process. 90 days or something like that. There's an open time on it. Then it will come back up for the actual annexation hearing. So that is not what this is. This is just a petition to do it.
So this land resides in the county at the present time?
Currently, it's on the highway in 4400. If you look up at the map,
Mhm.
it is the property north of Bringhurst subdivision.
This would be the
So-
very northernmost property, like with, this would border Smithfield City.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
couldn't annex anything further north.
This would
in
be the
area.
first time that we
This is
actually
kind of
bonded one.
our agreement with Smithfield, is that right?
Yes.
Right.
And with the utilities going up there with the Bringhurst, that makes it that much more attractive to annex, so.
Just as an FYI, if for any reason the city council didn't want this property or a future property to be annexed into the city, this would be the stage when you would vote no, and you just stop it before it even begins.
Yes.
I'm not recommending that at this stage. I'm just
But that.
saying for future reference, if it ever came up that we didn't want a property to be annexed, this is where you would say, no, thank you, and vote no.
So if we say yes now and then down the road with
Say-
Panhandle, we say no, they're going like,
Ooh,
why are you doing that?
that would be,
Yeah, like at this point, we can say no just because, we're not ready for it, or, whatever reasons from the general plan. And when if we voted yes and then got to that next stage, we would have to have a higher burden of proof to deny it. There would have to be
Yeah.
pretty
okay.
concrete reasons.
That's good
say
to
no.
know. That's for sure.
That is,
But this is in our, I don't remember what to call it, the general plan, our future annexation.
Correct.
Plan, so I guess the way it would work, at some point, we might want to go out to say, to somebody and say, hey, we'd really like you to become part of the city, and we ask them, or they come to us in this case, and wanting to do it, and just like, yeah, it's gonna happen sooner or later.
And then
Yeah.
I think also you can't annex an island, so we'd have
Correct.
to, if there was property in between,
Yes.
we'd have to go to them and
Right.
ask, yeah.
right.
Which,
For example, Smithfield for years had this unofficial mantra that they weren't going to develop anything up past their power lines. And so whenever annexation petitions came in beyond the power lines, they said no, because I think they had it in their general plan or something. And so anything beyond that, they said, nope, we're not going to annex you in. So that would be, if we had something in our general plan that said, we don't want to take all that county land that borders Smithfield, then this would be the point to say, nope.
how will this impact Wolfpack Way North? And right now, working with us, and that's the parcel the county has in this game, right? Because
One of them,
what,
they have a half a road on a couple of those.
okay, but
So
this,
that allows us to negotiate with that property owner.
does that make the process any easier if they're part
Yes.
of the city, right? It's
It-
just,
It makes it so we negotiate with them and not the county.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing we could do is when it comes time to actually vote on the annexation, we can work with Mr. Nixon in the meantime to come up with an agreement that makes his annexation conditional on him dedicating property for that road. We can't force him to do all of it for free. Would be against the law,
right,
but
There's a
we
word
could
for
come
that.
up.
Extortion.
Extortion. Yeah. But we could force him to enter into an agreement for just compensation
Yeah.
to dedicate that road as a condition
And
of
he
annex.
knows there's a road going in there. It's been on the master,
And he
Oh, yeah.
knows about what Marcus said too.
yeah, okay.
He's had multiple conversations with the mayor and myself about this very topic.
Yeah, okay.
So is there any downsides to this? I can't think of any.
And just because we accept the annexation doesn't mean we automatically rezone it what they're requesting, even though I'm not
When,
against. what
when
they're
they come
Right.
into annex, they typically ask for a zoning.
Right.
Right, they request a zone and then this is treated just like any other rezone request. It goes to the planning commission for a public hearing and anyway, and
think
then
it's
it'll
under
come back,
pet-
it'll come back to you guys. to
Yeah.
And their
consider that
petition,
zone.
they have
Yep.
mixed use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do
Right.
have it there, but that's what I was saying. I just want to make sure that was correct.
So let's open up the public
There's-
hearing
there's
portion.
Public, there's.
Oh, it's not, it's
We're just
Not
voting.
on the
on a
agenda.
resolution?
Just a resolution
You're just-
We
it-
will-
Oh,
later, but this is.
that's true. That's true. Okay.
So we just need to move to adopt. I move to adopt resolution 2025-06, petitioner from Scott Nixon to annex.
It's about 22 acres.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we got a motion from Dave to accept.
I'm gonna
Resol-
second this.
Well,
Okay.
everybody
Which
else-
means I'm gonna have to vote
against
for it.
We're gonna get a
Everybody
yay
else
here.
Say nay.
So I've got a motion from Dave and a second from Gerald to accept resolution 2025-06 annexing Mr. Scott Nixon's property. Not annexing, but a petition to annex. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. You can second and still vote against. All right, motion carries 5-0. The next item is to have a closed session to discuss the purchase of real property that we're in discussion with. And to do that, we would need to, do we need to take 5 first?
Yeah.
Take a
Sure.
5-minute
Mayor.
utility break and then come back and do this?
Mayor, could we do a couple things? So we are live streaming right now.
Oh.
We will not be live streaming during the closed session, and the way our software works, it's gonna be hard to live stream after. So if I could propose, we would motion and go into closed session.
Take a break.
I would, for the record, I could do an explanation to be on the
Go ahead.
live stream, and then we can take the break and start the session.
Okay. So,
Make a motion that we go into an executive session.
so we got a motion to go into closed session, which is often called executive session, but
Closed session is the term in land use.
North
law.
Logan can spend an hour and a half and explain all the trouble they got into because of the use of that term. So we got a second.
I'll
from
second
Tiffany.
that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? All right,
Okay, for the live stream, we will be ending the live stream. For the closed session, we will not be renewing it, but after the closed session is over, the city council may return to normal session to vote on the issues discussed.
thank
We
you.
will end
We're gonna do it.
the recording for the regular session. Yeah.